And we're now joined by the top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, Mark Warner of Virginia. Senator, were you persuaded there by Maria Corina Machado's argument that military action, pressure, is virtuous and necessary?
Well, first of all, let me, at the top of the show, we've got this tragic shooting at Brown University, and then this obviously political strike against the Jewish community in Australia, both horrible, and particularly on the first day of Hanukkah, which is a celebration of light over darkness. And boy, we could use a little more light these days. Ms. Machado is a hero. She deserves to win the Nobel Prize. And one of the mistakes the Biden administration made last year when the opposition candidates won overwhelmingly was not put more pressure on Maduro then to leave. Mm-hmm. But the action now that Trump has chosen Maduro, who's a bad guy, and saying, and I'm not sure what his policy is, but at the very same time is pardoning, for example, a Honduran former president who was convicted in America of drug running. Right. The president who has not been willing to stand up strong against Putin, who's probably the most brutal authoritarian leader in the world, as we go on and off with Ukraine. I think yes, it'd be great to get rid of Maduro. But in terms of the question, Donald Trump has not come to the American people and said, here are our goals in Venezuela. We've got troops potentially in harm's way. We've got boat actions, for example, where we're blowing up boats where we can obviously interdict, as we saw with the oil tanker. I think the president needs to make the case if he's going to try to put boots on the ground in Venezuela.
Well, at this point, all they've, as I understand it, asked for and justified to Congress were these strikes on the alleged drug boats, nothing with sovereign territory yet. But that gets to your argument about what is the end goal. Unlike other Democrats, when it comes to the drug boats, you've said you're not ready to call them war crimes, particularly what happened on the September 2nd double tap strike. You've questioned Admiral Bradley. I know you want the video released to the public. What do you think that's going to show to the public? What will that change?
I think the video is chilling, disturbing, whatever term you want to use, because the idea of these two survivors hanging on to remnants of a boat and then America taking a series of additional strikes. Mm-hmm. The Congress needs to see it at the very minimum. I think the American public needs to see it.
You've seen it.
I've seen it.
Only a limited number have.
It is extraordinarily chilling. What I'm saying is, once you make the accusation of war crime, you can't take that back.
Right.
And so what I've said—
But many of your Democrat
and I know
colleagues
that. That's
have.
why I've said to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, I want to see the written execution order. I want to see the legal opinion that was about this specific strike. I want to know whether the overarching policy memorandum, which was not finished until September 5th, 3 days after the strike, was a change.
I saw you said this. That's not typical, is it? Don't you normally come up with the legal justification before you take the action rather than 3 days after?
This is where I have a question. The justification was made in late July. They didn't write it down until September 5th.
Why?
I don't have the answer. I also want to see the after-action report. I want to give the military every opportunity to make their case. Because once you make that claim, what it would do to how we view our military, morale, how we're viewed in the world, it's so important. But this president has not, and frankly, Pete Hegseth, even worse. Here's the guy who goes out and brags about the strikes until there's controversy, and then he kind of runs for the hills.
Well, the president said again this week, and I'll just read it to you, that land strikes on Venezuela are being considered land strikes on horrible people that are bringing in drugs and killing our people. It doesn't necessarily have to be in Venezuela. It's people that are bringing in drugs to our country as targets. Have you seen any legal justification to hit these people now designated as terrorists on sovereign territory, whether it's Mexico or Colombia or Venezuela?
The vast majority of the drug, particularly, this is all cocaine. This is not fentanyl.
In terms of the drug boats,
the vast majority is actually in the Eastern Pacific, yet most of the strikes have been in the Caribbean.
Right.
And does this mean that suddenly you're going to be open warfare with all of American military against any and all drug dealers? Again, the drug dealers are awful. We need to do all we can to stop them. But the president, when he puts American forces potentially in harm's way, needs to come and explain to the American people what the goal is here.
Okay.
Particularly when he's then, at the same breath, pardoning the former president of Honduras, who was a convicted drug dealer.
in terms of designated terrorists, ISIS is a designated terrorist group. We just saw the first combat deaths, essentially, of the Trump administration yesterday. 3 Americans killed, 3 injured in Syria in this apparent ambush. The head of the National Counterterrorism Center said it was an insider attack. Are you supportive of keeping the nearly 1,000 U.S. troops in Syria? Do you have concerns that the Syrian government isn't able to keep these infiltrators
First
out?
of all, condolences to the 3 Americans' families, armed forces members, 1 an interpreter. I think our troops have played an important role. We are working closely with, for example, the Kurds. We have literally tens of thousands of ISIS family members in certain prisons in that area. But
so you want that to continue?
But the president, I think pulling out without a plan would be a mistake. But the president, again, has sent mixed signals. I mean, months ago, he said he's thinking about taking all those American soldiers out without articulating a strategy. I mean, the president, if he wants to make the case to the American people of when our soldiers are in harm's way, or particularly when we're talking about the Caribbean and now potential Venezuela, this has not been an overnight. This buildup of force has been months. He owes it to all of us to come in and explain what his goal is.
Domestically, we have Senator Cassidy on the program. We taped to them earlier. He says he's looking for fellow Democrats to join him in a health care deal by March to make these health savings accounts. And he said he'll offer to extend the existing subsidies to
first of all,
premiums. Would you be on board with that?
We've got a crisis that hits as of Monday, tomorrow, because that's when people have to sign up.
He says retroactively you can do it.
Well, listen, it's a mess. Once you've signed up or you've dropped out of the system, the idea that you're retroactively going to fix it now so people don't go into Christmas thinking they're going to not know if they'll be able to afford health care.
But nothing's happening.
But the notion that Bill Cassidy is a good guy. I've worked with him in a lot of different efforts. But the idea that a one-time $1,500 payment into your pocket is going to suddenly make up. I had a person on the other day. Her current insurance is $544 a month. It'll go up to over $1,500 a month. A one-time $1,500 payment is not going to meet her needs, and particularly if that would mean that things like pre-existing condition protections would disappear.
That sounds like you're not on board in these remaining days of 2025, Senator. I have to
fix the crisis right now. Extend the subsidies, and then let's debate how we fix it.
We have to leave it there. Thank you, Senator.